All right. Good evening, everyone. Call the meeting to order for the Well Springs Unified Union School District. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First order of business is to approve the agenda as presented. I know I had initially reached out to folks about maybe adding something to the agenda. We're not going to be adding anything to the agenda tonight, except for probably under future agenda items and future meetings. We'll talk about that more later in the meeting. So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Meredith. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. On to public comment. Is there anyone here tonight who wishes to speak, online or in person? Okay. Consent agenda. I moved on too fast. Yes, Sean.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I met Julie, the librarian at the Wells Village Library, and that she has a display case up that we are going to try to put things in one time a month, art projects from the kids. And right now, Mrs. Cassidy's first grade class presently has some pictures they've done in the display case. So please go check it out if you have it. And every month we'll be changing that.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other public comments? Some people just joined before we move on. Okay. On to the consent agenda. So we have the minutes from September 10th and warrant 421 and 423. And the contract recommendations. I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I had a question on the contracts, the distinctions of like those positions, like the mentor, the stipends. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's what's on there. And
yeah, so just understanding what the licensure position is, and mentoring staff member, what those positions represent, and how they're going to be allocated, like the hourly ones.
So the easiest way to explain that, Matt, is that the licensure board member is each of our schools has someone who works with kind of like the liaison between the SU, the AOE, and our employees, and just assist individuals who are for licensure with the process. So they work for in those respects. A mentor is someone who actually works with a first year or new teachers to our SU or to our district. And so that's a stipend based on number of hours that they work over the course of the year.
And is that in addition to, so I see some of these are teachers. So when do they do the additional mentoring? That's in addition to their teacher fee? They get the additional?
It's all done outside of their regular work hours, yes.
Oh, I see. Outside the regular hours. Got it.
So yes, you're getting this right during the course of the day. So it's like, work they may do during an in-service day or an outside day. So yes.
Understood.
For the past 5 years in place. So, but it's not it's not additional pay on top of what the same job.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yep.
That was my only question.
okay. If there's no other questions on the consent agenda, motion to approve it will be in order.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Amanda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. On to finance. All Okay, so we have the monthly reports first. Did anyone have any questions regarding the monthly reports? And again, Lewis isn't going to be here tonight, obviously. Okay, on to the budget. So I guess for tonight, the purpose of the budget is to just go over the board priorities and for budget preparation for the administration. And so I think when we come back in November, we'll have a first draft to look at. So we'll open up open it up for discussion.
I mean, I would like to see a version of the budget where we keep all of the services. So, business as usual, seeing what that looks like and seeing, what the risks are. I know we don't have the ability to control a lot of things like healthcare costs, increases. We do, I guess, have an idea of the teacher salary increases, but seeing if everything is staying the same, like what's the cost?
Amanda?
I would like to reevaluate the transportation. I think that there's a very small number of students on one of our buses, and I still feel strongly that we should reevaluate to one bus. And the second thing is I would like to see us put our surplus to different use. In the past, we have given it back to the taxpayers. We've also put it in a capital maintenance fund, but we've continued to have a surplus, and I would like to see that surplus used for, I guess, student enrichment programs, such as aligning the winter sports programs between the schools. Like Middletown, the whole school participates in winter sports. Wells doesn't. And I think we should use some of that surplus to allow funding to be available for things like that to happen, field trips and participation and enrichment programs.
Okay. Anyone else? Mary?
Yeah, just really quickly about the winter sports. I know the FFE traditionally and continues to support any student that would need any type of scholarship. And that's been wonderful. The FFE steps up and does that. Amanda, do you remember a time where Wells kind of had a bus and provided that transportation from, because we're lucky to have that. Hopefully, again, knocking on wood, in place this year, we're busing kids, on a Monday or Friday from school to Pico, and then obviously you guys would maybe head up Bromley. I'm just wondering if there was a history or a tradition there that.
Yeah, prior to COVID, there was a bus, and it took kids to the mountain. There was never a bus offered to Riley Rink for ice skating. However, last year, Riley Rink didn't even have an option for Wells to join on Friday. So I think there was 6 students total out of the whole school that went to the mountain, and they were transported by parents.
Okay.
But I'm not saying busing everyone to the mountain would be awesome or to the rink, but I think there's other ways that we can look at, which is up to the admin, not us. But I know Wells has snowshoes and cross-country skis and things. There's other ways that we could. I would just like to see some of the surplus put back into the schools to allow for those opportunities.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is basically level funded budget, and maybe taking a look at transportation options. What specifically, you said one bus, Amanda?
I think we can bring all of the Wells students with one bus. We currently have 2, and there's days that one of our buses only has 3, 4, 5 kids. There's other days that it has more, but I don't see any reason why we shouldn't reevaluate that and figure out why we can't fit everybody on one bus, especially now that some of the other school times have changed and we're not meeting other buses. And I think it's doable.
So
And
maybe,
yeah.
Okay, so maybe see how that looks and also what that might look like for time on the bus as well would be one thing to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we would, have to look at that, but I wonder if some of the information we gathered last year and maybe Carol already has information this year. I don't know. That's something we would have to discuss with the admin, but I don't think it would extend the ride all that much. I know that personally, my child is the first on and last off, and they're on the bus under an hour. So if they drive 15 minutes further, they'd be on an hour. I don't think it would exceed that. But again, that would involve more research than I have off the top of my head right now.
Okay. And then in terms of surplus, I have to go back and look and see what our surplus was. Oh, there it is. Okay. Wow. Yep. Now it's all coming back. So specifically, you would like to see some of the surplus used for other programs like such as enrichment. How much are you thinking? Because if we're gonna ask for this to come back, I think an amount would be an appropriate.
I mean, I guess that would we would need a little information from the admin as well, right? Like if Middletown already has in place the winter sports program in their budget that I was referring to. So if the dollar amount comes to Wells to match that opportunity, and then maybe there's a difference that's split between the schools for other enrichment opportunities. Maybe it's field trips, maybe it's people coming into our schools. I think that we always put our surplus in other places, and I would like to see it put more into the kids and bringing things to them and bringing them to things. So I guess what is the dollar amount right now? I'm sorry, I just don't have it in front of me right now.
The surplus was 121,000 roughly. Yeah, but I think, in terms of,
I just don't feel like we can give it a number without speaking with the admin and knowing, because what is that cost that Middletown is paying, right? So to go to Pico is not going to be the same cost to go to Bromley. So I think we would need to get some more information, but I'd say at least half of the surplus should be put into enrichment.
okay.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? More for the board. As we're building out this budget, I know that we're looking at a surplus this year, but in future years, we have the same surplus. So if we're going to take $60,000, add to the budget for enrichment programming, are we prepared as a board then to increase our budget the following year by $60,000 and we not have that surplus? It's just something to consider as you have these discussions. So we may have the surplus to cover that this year, but if we have created these programs that we may want to continue, we have to find $60,000 or raise our budget $60,000 the following year. So that's just a conversation that the board will have to have. And I think also depends if we build out programs that are just for 1 year only or for future years. That's a conversation that I think myself and those that have to have with the admin as we're deciding.
Yep.
But we don't want to intentionally create this budgeting gap that we have to fill in the following year. It's similar like we had to do with us.
I was just going to say, yes.
Yeah, we did a nice job navigating it, but we just don't want to find ourselves in the same situation.
Yeah.
Right. The only reason I use that as an example is just because we have consistently had a surplus over the last few years, and but yes, no, I do understand what you're saying, and the goal would not on my end be to continue to raise the budget. I just, since we have had the surplus and we've put it into capital maintenance before, just thought if we were putting our surplus somewhere, we should put some of it in enrichment.
No, and my question, Amanda, was just around, are these one-time expenditures or is this build out programs that would be continuing for, multiple? And I think that's just something that as Jessica and Carol, Lewis, me down talking about programming, what the cost would be, just they have to consider that and just understand what to see.
Okay.
Just trying to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think, something to consider too is, this budgeting year, and, we may not, my thought too before this was that, we're really entering that period of, with the ESSER funds being completely gone. And, so we may not see any surplus at all or a very small amount, but also, if the board is going to set aside any kind of money for enrichment, it would be funds for the administration to determine what they wanted to use the enrichment for. And so that was my thought behind that too. But okay, Mary.
Yeah, just really quickly, Eric, I really like your idea of, not micromanaging, how that money is spent. And then just advocating that, if we do put a certain amount of money away from the surplus for enrichment, that it would just be even within the schools. I think that Middletown budgets just for the payment of the bus for those 6 weeks. But other than that, I don't think any other money comes out of our combined budget towards the ski program, the winter sports program. So I would just advocate that it's evenly distributed between both schools.
Yeah.
Mary, can I ask a follow-up to that? So when you say even, are you talking about for developing a per pupil expenditure, or just like each school gets like $30,000? Or Lewis would say we determine a dollar amount, and then therefore if Wells has more pupils, they may get a little bit more money, but it would just cover the. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that's fair. I think, since Wells has 81 or 82, we usually vary between 52 and 53. I think that would be fair. But one of the reasons that we have such a robust winter program is we have a lot of really great parents that volunteer and bring their kids up or bring their kids back, or advocate at least, internally for that program to keep going, and just make a big point to the admin that, we love it. We want to continue to see it grow. And then even with Jess coming on, I know that was one of the things that I brought up, and a couple other people that, like, hey, we have this program where, 6 weeks out of the year, we get to bring our kids half week or half day, and that really has become like a tradition that we love in Middletown. So I would love to see it, start up again at Wells as well. So.
Okay. So is anyone, an objection to setting aside surplus funds for enrichment opportunities before we settle this?
Sad to say, I'd like to see it done without it and then with it.
With and without it?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think the other part to that too is kind of what Amanda was saying is not knowing how much without input from the administrators on what would be a sufficient amount. So I don't know if that's something that we can have brought back for a first draft.
So we can work with Carol and Jess and determine what will be a good number for them to add to increase programming. But we could develop a per pupil expenditure cost, and then Sue, what Lewis would probably do would be like a cost scenario option A, like, here's what the cost would be for that, and then without that. And really, except for look at the surplus, it would just be deciding how much that surplus would go back.
Yep.
But it goes back to then just understanding the budgeting, that if we are, we're adding say 30,000, that's 30,000 that we have to figure out for the following year. where that's going to come from.
Uh,
Understanding that.
Yep, and that was my next question. Board is, do we want to build this out for 1 year or, because I think if if this is just a one-time thing, that might create issues in next year's budgeting. So that's something to really think about. Amanda?
Sorry, I was just going to say that as far as the recurring years or 1 year, I mean, since we have had a surplus continuously year after year, I would say if we have a surplus, we make it happen. And if we don't, then it doesn't happen, right? Like it's kind of like ESSER funds. When we have them, we spend them. When we don't have them, we can't. So if we have a surplus and we put some of it into enrichment, awesome. That's what we have. Next year, if we also have a surplus, we'll put another however many dollars we can afford to put into it. I think it's just kind of what comes with being fiscally responsible, in my opinion. But I don't know how everyone else feels.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
I'll just say I appreciate the opinion of like using the money. Not, it's tricky if you can't put this money into it, because as much as I would love to have like a Spanish teacher or something like that, then you get into this process where you have to maintain that funding source, and it's not always going to be there. So I'm good with enrichment if it's sort of strictly towards like these costs that we don't have to maintain year over year, like playground equipment or something like that. But anyway.
Okay. Yeah, so, I think maybe with some of that information, we can see what that number looks like and determine if that's something we want to keep trying to fund, because I know we've seen a surplus, but I think the one time you start budgeting, anticipating a surplus, you're yeah, you're yeah, you have?
I have,
Okay, yeah.
and then I'm out.
So, okay. Anything else on the budget? Okay. So hope that kind of provides at least a starting point for the first draft budget. Amanda?
I'm sorry, I have one more budget thing. The same thing I brought up last year. Can we also look at increasing the stipends to align our coach stipends between the two schools, and also increase board stipends? I do not have the numbers ready tonight, but they'd be the same as what I presented last year when it was too late. I could have those ready for next month, or I could email them to Lewis or Chris ahead of time.
We have those. You're talking about the ones you proposed last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to just resend those, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I vaguely remember the conversation.
And then just the coach stipends, because like one school gets like $550 and one school gets $700, but it's still a parent volunteering to coach, or an adult in the community volunteering to coach. So it's just always, I just think they should be in line, whatever that number is, whether one goes down or one goes up. But I don't think we should pay two different stipend amounts in the same district for the same thing.
Yeah, and if I remember, that was a conversation we were gonna actually have during budgeting. Okay. All right. So having a stipend, revisiting the stipend discussion that we had earlier. I think it was earlier this year or late last year. All right. Does anyone object to that as well?
I've
Just
got another one.
looking at for consensus. Go ahead.
Our election, money to put towards our elections,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's for the
That's right.
town They had a bunch of material brought forward, I think, too late also.
Yes, yes, I'll find that, and actually it's probably in the materials from earlier this year too. But that would probably be something to discuss while we're looking at that as well. Okay. And that was mainly for the district clerk, right?
I believe so.
Okay. All right, anything else on the budget? We'll move on. Okay. All right, we'll move on to reports. We have superintendent's report.
Thanks, Eric. I have a few things and I'll turn over to the principals. Most of the report, as always, is informational. I do want to highlight that as we did last year, there will be a budget communication plan, which in the next week or so, we will be sending out a letter to our communities, to our staff and families, just kind of highlight just the budget cycle process, as well as just some budget priorities, particularly now that we're starting to see what some of the priorities are. We'll include these in some of these, our letters to the community as well. And one of the things we will be preparing for the November board meeting is also just a presentation just on cost drivers. I think it's important for our public to understand that, you know, the costs to education, what these are, particularly around, you know, we talk about healthcare costs, you know, these things that are out of the board's control, you know, the impacts they have. A lot of this was discussed last night at the Act 73 community forum, but it'll be something which we'll bring back to the local communities here as well. And all this information can be found on our GRS website. There's a budget page that people can access the information. And once we have drafts of budget up, we will be placing those budget drafts on that page as well. In addition to the budget communication plan, we've also developed an Act 73 page, H454, which is around the school redistricting. So if people want to access this page, there's a lot of good information. The FAQs that were developed, that was shared along with the flyer, the slide presentation that was given last night at the forum has been placed on that X73 page, as well as the copy of recording the meeting will be placed by the end of this week on that page as well. So people who weren't able to attend the community forum will be able to view it as well. But that X73 is something which I think is causing a lot of stress in a lot of people's lives about, you know, in terms of what this means, where it's going to be at. And it is very difficult because, as a gentleman from at the meeting last night said, no one really has any answers. And that is true. You know, there's a piece of legislation out there, and all we know is that the December 1st, that the redistricting task force has to provide the legislator with maps. And at the September 29th redistricting task force meeting, there are 3 maps that were discussed. There's a 4th that's kind of floating around, and they all kind of center around the same thing. But of these 3 maps, one is just around a county-wide map, which is, if you look at like Rutland County, would be one area, one district, one, you know, supervisor union. That's still yet to be determined what that looks like. Other one is around our regional tech centers, which our regional tech center is Stafford Technical Center, which would be very similar to our Rutland County, but it would also bring in some other counties as well, because Stafford does service some counties outside of Rutland County. And then the 3rd map was around a regional high school. And that's something which they have not really sussed out yet what that's going to look like. But as I said last night, we know that here in Rutland County, we have 7 high schools. That is something that's been continually talked about in our legislature up in Montpelier, that just in that area, there's just way too many. And so as they look at a regional high school approach, they may look to say you have 2 high schools in Rutland County. I don't know where those will be at, because, you know, this is all just, like I said, speculation. But then they would look to decide, you know, they would draw like a bubble or a map around those regional high schools and look to see where those students would come from. It's all in its infancy. You know, there are a lot of concerns. As we keep saying, it's like once we get the maps, then all the problems start to kind of, it's like open up the floodgates, because there are a lot of issues. Things that were brought up last night, such as like snow days. Something as simple as snow days, how's someone going to handle snow days? And someone that deals with snow days in in a large SU. It's not easy calling, 8 different towns at 4:15 in the morning, trying to get hold of the road crews and assess what's going on at Houlton as opposed to, Rutland Town and making decisions in a larger district. That's going to be more problematic. Obviously we look at collective bargaining, teachers' contracts, how's that going to work? We look at special education and services. So there are a lot of issues that need to be resolved. But like I said, once we get to December 1st and we see what these drafts, these maps are, that's kind of where the fun begins, because then the legislature starts taking it and starts picking it apart and really looking at all the hard parts. So we will continue to try to keep people updated, either through our board meetings, through Act 73 website, also through the budget communication plan. But like I said, right now it is in that period where it is very messy. We're just waiting for these drafts to be developed, and then once they're developed, then like I said, a lot of questions will be asked, and it may take a while for some provide some answers. I do want to highlight that while we had a decent turnout at the community forum last night, on October 22nd at Rutland High School is a great opportunity for individuals to directly interact with the members of the redistricting task force. They'll be there in the high school gymnasium on night from 6 to 8 p.m. And this way, they'll probably have a short presentation, but it really is an opportunity for community members to engage, to share their concerns, to offer their input. And I know that in listening to the task force, that part of their goal is to, through their 4 regional meetings, to really just understand what the citizens of Vermont really want as they look at developing these maps and to be considered. And as always, if you have concerns, please reach out to your senators. We have 3 senators in our area, Senator Weeks, Senator Williams, and Senator Collmore. All 3 are on the Senate Ed Committee. And then we also please reach out to your representatives. Representative Chris Pritchard from this area did a really nice job of, being very active. Dave Bosch is up in the Clarendon, West Rutland area, and Patricia McCoy pulled me and others. But I think, just please reach out to them. If you don't know, there is a tool on our website which you can just enter your town, and it'll tell you exactly who your representatives and your senators are as well.
Yep.
So, I hope there's anything else.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't. I didn't have any questions, but I just, also just want to add that, folks can also reach out and submit their own testimony to the redistricting task force as well, which is on the GRC's website, Act 73 page. So individuals, can share their thoughts without, going in person. My sentiment on all this is for folks to, really just engage and try and get involved in some of these decision makings because it will impact the future of all of our schools moving forward. Mary?
Yeah, just really quickly. So Chris, I was talking to a few people after the meeting last night, and just with the first example, say Wells Springs would be, kind of clumped into that Rutland map, that would in turn, I guess, limit the amount of school choice we would have for 7th, 8th, and then high school to that map or that district that we're now redistrict in. Is that correct?
Yes and no. I say no because I think it's all speculative. We don't know what's going to happen once they move people around. I think that is the big question around supervisory unions as opposed to a supervisory district. And there, you'll still hear Governor Scott and others talk about supervisory unions, and a lot of people are talking about supervisory districts. That is a big question around school choice, is what happens when you are in this new district or region. What would happen to school choice? And that is just something to be aware of. And I would encourage, residents of Middletown and Wells to, like I said, reach out to members of the redistricting task force and share those concerns. And, that as Middletown and Wells are placed in a new district, what does that mean for school choice? What his options are? I don't have those answers. Like I said, there's a lot of speculation And I have to be very careful because I don't necessarily want to speculate because then people take that as a gospel and it's not the case at all because I followed maybe a little more closely than the average person just because it's part of my job. But then again, I said, I don't have all the answers. We even have senators who will tell you they don't have any of the answers yet. But that is a concern, Mary. And I can't say yes or no, but there is that potential as Middletown and Wells gets placed. What does that do to school choice? Do they limit it to 3 options? Is it wide open? Like I said, I don't know. And I think those are good questions to ask the task force and your representative and senators as they start to develop these things. And I know it wasn't a hard answer, but that's kind of, that's where we're at. So.
Okay, yeah, I was just kind of like wondering like when in the process that might be decided upon. But I guess we'll just have to stay tuned. That was just a question that came up with a couple of people that I was talking to last night about it. So, all right, great, thanks.
Mary, I think that's the concern. I think is when these decisions will be made, and it will be too late. And I think that's why so we've been asking people to engage with.
Right.
These are concerns. Reach out to your representatives and your senators now. Even if you can't make it on October 22nd, I would encourage you to email, send these in, because I think there are a lot of people who have these concerns about that. We'll just wait to see what the map is or what's going to happen, and by that time it may be too late for somebody then to make any adjustments or changes. And like I said, I don't necessarily know, but it is a lot of wait and see. That's what they keep telling us, but obviously things are moving right now too.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, there is components in there around like independent schools and options for secondary school, but I mean, you could run a lot of different hypotheticals, SU versus SD, and still not 100% know if you're going to have that option. But it's, it just depends. And I'd like to think that if we're in an SU, we'd still have a district and still have that choice, but it's not clear. Unfortunately, just have to wait. And I plan on attending the task force meeting in Rutland. So.
And Mary, I have one more thing, because I know that Senator Weeks referenced this last night around the small by necessity. And I think, what you have to understand is that has not yet been defined.
Right.
How they're going to classify that. So while we may, or you may define, but a school as well, small by necessity, that'd be the definitions the state comes up with. So I think even, a question around that is a good question to ask our senators in terms of as they start to figure out or calculate how they're going to define that. What's it going to look like? So
they haven't defined 4,000, 8,000 students where practical is either. So they haven't defined that. Okay.
Okay, great. So these would be all great questions for the 22nd.
I wouldn't wait till the 22nd too. I mean, I'd start emailing right now if people have these questions, and you may not have answers, but I think it's important that the senators and our representatives understand as they engage with maps, they start engaging conversations that that people have raised their concerns about things that they may not be aware of as of yet.
Well, the task force survey.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, it's I was just going to say, it's the survey is the Commission on the Future of Public Education.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that one is for anyone and everyone, I would say. It just came out last week. And they are going to use the information from that survey as well for a lot of their decision making, both the task force and the commission, I believe. So again, a lot's happening, a lot to pay attention to. The voting ward working group as well. Commission on the Future of Public Education is also looking at the class sizes and also powers of school boards and the electorate, and processes on how schools are closed. So there's a lot of components to Act 73 that will probably all hit around December. So pay attention. Okay. Did anyone have any questions on the superintendent's report? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you finished with there? Okay. Okay. And I did notice all that stuff was updated on the website, by the way. I think that's fantastic. Okay, so we'll move on to principals reports.
For our Wednesday meetings, our faculty meets every Wednesday. Our staff is really stepping up and presenting mini PPs on their profession. Last week we had our interventionist and special educator give a mini PD on different things like IEPs, accommodations, modifications, things like that. We also had our playbook rollout, which the teachers are going to be working with together on Friday. We got some logs delivered for an outdoor seating arrangement. And we've also discussed at the FFE meeting to kind of change the name of outdoor classroom to outdoor education, just so it gives it more of a chance to embrace all outdoor learning. And the students really like the logs out there. We had our September Student of the Month. That was last week. A really great ceremony. We also had an illustrator and an author, Ashley Wolf. She came last Friday, and she talked with the students and did this whole presentation where she was drawing characters in front of them, and the students, they really loved that. We have a class trip coming up October 17th to the Smoky House Center, and we are fully into soccer season, so we have lots of games, and the students are really working on sportsmanship and improving their skills. And our open house was a great success. Everybody really liked all of the different members of the community that came, and we hope to do that again.
Did anyone have any questions for Jessica? All right.
Oh, just one question. Curious about, I know it's always been an issue, but filling in substitute teaching for Middletown. Go ahead.
I don't know. The substitute hasn't been an issue. Attendance has been pretty good, and we've been able to work with what we have. We also have a wonderful parent who comes in and subs for us pretty regularly.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
All right.
An update since the principal's report. Read Vermont, last year we were asked if we would like to participate in a coaching experience with the Read Vermont team from the Agency of Education. And once we had our first meeting, the funding was pulled back, and they have actually come back. We have a new group of teachers who are wanting to work with this team and be coached, and our focus is going to actually be on fluency, which is something we've really talked about and tried to figure out how are we going to really work on reading fluency. And so that's one of the focuses of the goals that we're going to be working with them, and kind of looking forward to it starting next month. In the report, I talked about our boilers failing, and we have 3 boilers. 2 of them were working. 1 has not been working since I've been here. Ernie had somebody come in and got a price, and they said that they can get all 3 of our boilers back up and working. And he got a quote, and I think it's somewhere around $8,000 for all 3 of them. So that's something that we actually need to move forward on, because of course the cold snap is here, and we have to have a certain temperature in our pre-K. and it was a little bit below 10. So that's something that we're working on. What's that? They all wore their sweatshirts, so yes, and they were very happy to do that. And then I know that Patricia Swain at Middletown and Mia Costa-Hickey are working together to do our school choice fair again. They're getting in touch with local counselors, and I believe that we are hosting it this year, as of the last time I talked to Mia. So that information will be coming forward pretty soon. And last but not least, we had a walk rider roll to school this morning, and if you remember, it was raining. It wasn't sprinkling, it was raining, and we decided, let's just do it. Nobody's gonna melt, and so we met at the library. Nan and Chipmunk dressed up and walked with our students and some parents to school in raincoats and umbrellas. We had one young lady ride her bicycle with her grandparents and her parents. And we had another little boy riding his red wagon with his parents, and everybody in raincoats. And we came here, we had donuts with grown-ups. The multi was full, it was wonderful. Everybody was flat, but it was great.
Awesome.
And it was just a really neat event. And Nan and Chipmunk came in and did a read aloud, kind of settle everybody in as they had a treat. So it was just a really great way to start a Wednesday.
Soaking wet.
Soaking wet, it was wonderful.
Nice.
But the kids really didn't care. It was really fun.
Probably won't rain for another month.
I know. We already talked about doing it in a blizzard, so we're ready.
Okay. All right, any questions for Carol? Great, thank you both for the reports. All right. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the fun part of the meeting, I guess. DQS. All right, so try and work our way through this. A couple of things I want to highlight as part of the district quality standards, and I think over the last year or two we've looked at the standards themselves a couple times, and I will say that I'm pretty familiar with them, having worked on the task force that created the governance standards, and also part of the VSBA group that helps with the rubric. And I will say that also this morning, I took part in the AOE's office hours on governance standards. It was a really interesting meeting, but in terms of the self-governance part of the standards, this is beta. This is the beta version. The intention behind this is basically to collect data, and they want to test the system. They want to basically work out a lot of what could be potential issues behind this. And this isn't just the governance standards itself. This applies to all standards in the 100 series. But for our purposes tonight, we are only doing the district quality standards, section 113. The rest is done administratively as part of a recap. So what are we evaluating? Well, it's basically circle one, to basically put it simply. I was thinking about this today. There is a lot here. We're not going to, if we don't get through all these tonight, because I would say that we're kind of doing this as a test, as guinea pigs on this. There really isn't the easy way to do it except to start going through the standards and asking ourselves how we stand. So, did anyone have any questions before we get started? Great. Okay. Governance priorities. I'm not going to read through all this. I think, well, before I do, everyone should have it in front of them at least. So is everyone online able to read along as we go through this? Matt, Amanda, Mary?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Just checking. Okay. So the board follows an inclusive process to invite and incorporate community input to the vision and goals for the system. The way the standards work is you work from left to right. So the first part of the rubric is beginning. So as it says, the board is beginning proficient if the following conditions are met. Once those conditions are met, then essentially you would move on to the next section and so forth. And obviously being proficient in that scale is where each board wants to be at. But again, this self-evaluation is not meant to be punitive. This is basically where to determine where we're at, and for boards to know where they lack at and how they want to move forward with the governance standards, what they need to work on. Okay, so
Proficient.
yep. Okay, let's see, where did you put it? Okay.
That one was needed.
Yeah. And you know, and again, one thing I just want to highlight is if you looked at advanced, for example, and you met all, and you're like, okay, yeah, we meet everything in the advanced part of this, you still have to meet all the other rubrics before you can meet that next one. So, but I would agree. I mean,
And the only part of advanced we're not meeting is the annually evaluating adjusting its community engagement plan. I don't know that that's happened.
yeah. Yep. Let's see here. I'm just looking at one of the things that did come up was like if you look at approaching, the board has created a vision. You know, we haven't created a vision. However, as part of the supervisory union has a mission and vision, which carries through to all districts. So that was something that was kind of brought up, and I do think that, and I probably should have started with this too, as we move through these rubrics, if we do get stuck on something, that's something for feedback as well for the AOE, just to put that out there. So Meredith, you said proficient. Let's see, engagement. Nope. Yep. I mean, I would agree. On proficient. Anyone else have anything to weigh in on this? Anyone object?
You always look at me.
I'm looking at I just want to make sure,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes people raise their hand and if I don't look, I miss it, so. This seems like I don't raise my hand. Okay. I
No objections.
thank you. Oh. Okay.
I think we're approaching on that.
At least annually, the board sets measurable goals and regularly reviews the progress towards those goals. Yeah. Yeah. You know, and I'll say this, and I don't have an issue with it. When looking at each of the standards and you know, all the indicators, you know, when we were reviewing a lot of this, we were always, you know, referencing it to, you know, the priorities, the protocols, and practices as well. So sometimes I feel the language is too prescriptive. You know, it's too specific as well. But all right. So I heard approaching for number 2, 113.1.2. Anyone else? I mean,
I think we're proficient. I mean, we do review our goals annually. I would think the only reason we're not advanced is because maybe every member of the board can't name every goal and where we're at with it off the top of their head. I think we're proficient, not advanced. And
yeah, I think one of the catching points for me is the last bullet point in proficient, where it says annually the board reviews its equity lens and how it applies to board work. I can say that where is our equity lens? So that's something to consider. So, and again, like I said, you know, all the conditions should be met to be within that. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with being not proficient, honestly.
I would say that the equity lens is within the whole SU, where we are consistent with equal and equitable opportunities for all students. So I think that we always have equity at the forefront when we're setting and reviewing our goals.
Yeah. Well, it says the board reviews its equity lens. So I think that's something that maybe we can work on to clarify exactly what that means, what that entails as we do this work as well. I mean, and again, we're evaluating just ourselves.
No, I know. I guess, yeah. So I guess some clarification on what that means then, because I don't know. I feel like we talk about equity over and over and over and over again when we're reviewing and doing our goals. So I guess, yeah, definition on equity lens would be helpful for us going forward.
Okay. Anyone else? Moving on. At least annually, the board monitors student academic progress and wellness. Yeah. The board establishes specific measurable targets which are identified and used to track student academic progress and wellness. Board uses multiple sources of data to monitor. Yes. Board relies on multi-year data to observe changes over time. Yes. The only thing I have concerns about, which is, I think is still fine, but it says the board establishes specific measurable targets which are identified and used to track academic progress and wellness. I always thought that was like an administrative thing. You know,
Yeah, I would agree.
you know, whenever.
So is that the problem with the standard?
Yeah, I think that language could be tricky when trying to say you're proficient. you know, because when we review, when the data is presented to us for the assessment, we review the assessments. But I think one of the key parts to all this assessment data that we see is the steps taken to, you know, to identify the issues and changes in there that the administration has identified. But so I guess the question is that something that we could say we're proficient in, but seek feedback on? Amanda?
I also question if we ever would be able to achieve the advanced column in this, because it says board minutes reflect review of progress towards student outcome goals, which we don't do. Many times we review these things in executive session because of our class sizes. So if that's something that would need to meet that, and that's the only thing that would hold us back in the future, like we can't put those things in our minutes. So I'm not sure that that's a fair thing to have on this assessment.
Yeah. The only issue I have with that is, why does it need to be in our minutes?
Right.
That, you know,
Don't
And
you
it's not something that we put in our minutes because it's specific to small. I don't know. I would offer them some feedback that it's not really pertinent to all small schools.
yeah, I know, I get what you're saying. And I mean, we only look at the testing when we're looking at those suppressed data, which isn't very often. And Sue, I didn't get what you
The
said.
minutes reflect what we do, correct?
Yes.
So if it's in the minutes, then it says we did it. So that's why you would have it reflected in the minutes.
Yeah. Well,
It
what?
doesn't talk specifically about the students'
Yeah.
performance.
But it says we did something to either acknowledge what they did, what they didn't do, and then we move forward on what we, like that would be the principal's reports that they had followed through the testing that we went through last month. Then it was in the reports that we acknowledge there's issues that we are addressing.
Right,
Oh.
but the statement says that our minutes share the progress, which would be the information, the result of what we discussed, which is never what we would put in our minutes. We might put that we discussed it, but never that one grade is higher or lower or
That's putting more individually, it would be discussed that there is a plan in place to proceed to and to move forward with the results of the testing that was maybe bad or good, that we're furthering it on. It's just to say that we've actually doing something. We're not just, oh, hey, we heard of it. We don't care.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that this one's kind of tricky, but you know, like personally, I don't even think it needs to be there. I mean, how does having this in the minutes make it advanced? But so, but I think going back to where we were at before on proficient, I think we need to determine the proficient box in the first bullet point establishes specific measurable targets, which are identified and used to track student academic progress.
So you think we're not proficient because of that bullet point?
I want to know what the board thinks, because I'm kind of iffy on this. Because like I said, you know, we don't look at the test data and say, oh, these are the specific measurable targets, which we want to identify.
We don't establish
Yeah.
the targets.
Yeah. Yeah.
We look at them, we just don't establish them.
Exactly.
Do you think there's boards that do establish them? Because I'm not sure that's a board responsibility.
That's what I'm getting at too. So maybe for the sake of, for our exercise tonight is we just put approaching and then seek clarification, right? And again, this is something that as we identify, okay, we're not proficient. How do we get there? And so we might find that the next time we do this, this has been answered or it has been updated. So I think this is a good exercise, but maybe we shouldn't overthink it too much too. So
Already there. We've
yeah.
already overthought this way more than easy.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm suggesting approaching. Is anyone an objection to that?
I would second that, Eric.
And again, I'm taking notes on this, so that way we can determine what's next. All right. Okay. At least annually, the board formally evaluates the performance of the superintendent based in part on the superintendent's progress toward meeting agreed upon goals. Oh boy. So yeah, this one, we had a lot of discussion on too. Because in our case, traditionally, this supervisory union board has the responsibility of evaluating the superintendent. But that doesn't mean individual boards can't, at least not on a formal evaluation, I would say. This year, when we did the superintendent evaluation, we did add a component for local school district feedback.
So can we say we're beginning with this?
I'm just kind of reading through it.
If you read the next one, it says the same.
That's because it's the board governance versus policy governance.
Yeah.
So we're only doing this one. We're not doing the next one.
Yep.
which I hope
All right,
you
I'm
will.
back. Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know. I could be wrong, but I feel like it doesn't apply. Because it's done at the supervisory union level.
Yep.
We don't do a separate evaluation. We participate in it, but
Yep. 1 sec.
Chris, you want us to do an evaluation of you tonight?
Is that Sue?
Would you like us to do an evaluation of you tonight?
Wow, we got time. We'll breeze right through it.
Sure.
Well, wouldn't the beginning just be the SUSD board does not evaluate the performance of the superintendent? I mean, I guess that assumes that we're going to move forward to the other tiers of approaching or proficient. But as of right now, can we just move forward and say that we don't? That'd be easier.
Yeah, I would say if you're looking at the standard, it says the board formally evaluates. Well, no, we do not. So, yeah, probably beginning on this one. This beginning or blank. there were times, during discussions with this, and just trying to wrap the discussion around, is this black or white, but we would always come back to like the definitions page. And, when you see SUSD in the definitions, it says means a supervisory union, including a supervisory district in connection with the duties it performs on behalf of the member school districts. And board means the board of an SUSD, board of each member school district within an SU. So,
Eric, in this, Wellspring would be considered a member board.
yeah. And so, and that's where, and again, I'm going back from years of conversations and notes to basically say, well, if the supervisory union board is doing the formal evaluation, does including the member districts in that conversation apply? It was really,
Hey, Eric, I'm not sure if it's just me, but I can't hear you on my end.
how about now?
Nothing. Let me see if I pressed a button I shouldn't have.
It's on your end. Okay, so, again, let's not overcomplicate this. This is, I think,
Eric, I would think this would be more applicable to the GRCSU board. And as you look at the proficient advance, particularly how do they collect feedback from member boards and what role do member boards play in that evaluation? But I think I think that's what they're asking is traditionally, yes, the supervisory union or supervisory district board does the evaluation.
yes.
And what role do member boards play in that?
Yep. Yeah, and that was always my understanding of it, but there was always the argument in a lot of these. So if we're looking at what's here on paper, yes, I agree. But again, I'm asking the board what the board thinks as well on this, because we're all participating in the evaluation. So okay, so what do people think? Probably just we can leave it blank and just say not applicable.
I support that.
Right.
Same.
Okay.
That works for me.
Okay. We'll skip over policy governance. All right. Governance protocols. Board annually assesses its performance, including adherence to agreed protocols, processes, and policies. Board. Okay, to that. We do have a set of board operating protocols. The board does not have an annual work plan.
We don't.
No. Yep. So, beginning?
Yep.
All right. Not very exciting, sorry. The board annually reviews whether and/or how its actions and contributions have impacted the school system success in meeting goals.
Say we're at the beginning there.
Annual review. Okay. I feel this one is Okay, yeah. All right, beginning. Anyone else? Yes, no? Any comments on the computers as well? Feel free to speak up.
I mean, I think it's super important. I do agree we're in beginning. I don't know that we do a good job measuring impact, but it's also super nebulous sometimes. Hard to measure impact on some of the decisions we make. So, yeah, I would say beginning though.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we've never done. I mean, when we look at how our actions impact, and I think that's the key word, the school system success. Like, I think we've reviewed, how our actions have, succeeded in meeting our goals, but that's about it. All right, we'll move on to the board annually evaluates effectiveness of community engagement and public communication efforts.
We're approaching.
Yep, approaching. There's that work plan thing. And I'll be honest. Last summer when we met and started looking at the rubrics that we're looking at now, there was a lot of the annual work plan stuff in there. And my argument behind it is why is there a work plan in there? Why is there a work plan in there? Because the standards say nothing about having a work plan, but that was just language that others felt that it was best practices to have an annual work plan. We'll see that a lot in here.
Can we define what a work plan is?
Yeah, I mean, it's a document that basically, just lays out the work of the board. The GSESU board has one. And it just, details the work of the board throughout the year. In some cases, it is a working document, but it does help, especially I would say for the board chair, and like the superintendent and board members to look at it and see that these things are coming up, and usually they're annual. You see them at regular intervals throughout the year, and I will say, and if you do look at the SU work plan, you will see that the same months that the SU board is looking at assessments, the assessments are being shared and reviewed at all local boards as well. That was intentional as far as administrative work, and so I mean, there is a little bit of so those are timed. You see those regularly.
Yeah, like budgets would be at a certain time. I like it.
Yeah. Board collects information. Okay, so approaching on that one. All right. The board undertakes its own continuous learning and development and provides members with opportunities for ongoing training and support to maintain and increase their skills and understanding. The board does not set aside time for continuous learning or board development.
We're an approaching here too.
Board does not. We do offer training. We do complete training. At least within the last year.
Isn't this a whole initiative by Grixu?
No. Well, no, I mean, it's,
For onboarding new board members, like a class or something. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
Chris was offering that.
yep. I think
I
that's,
feel like we're probably approaching.
okay. Yep, I think Meredith said the same. Okay, approaching. All right.
Tell you, this is super hard to sit through in light of what the state is trying to do to our boards.
I know. Yeah, and
Why doing it? It's been-
Well, because this was started years ago.
And now they're changing everything anyway, so this means literally
This is just
nothing.
like really, really difficult.
oh no, the new boards will have to do this too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what are the 12 people in the entire state?
12 people per district. Sorry. Okay. We're almost through. Governance processes. Okay, the board discusses, adopts, and revises policies on a regular basis, ensure the system is supporting and meeting the needs of every student.
Again, this is an SU issue, isn't it?
It's both. I think this one's both. I think I looked at this one before. I
So
think.
this is approaching. Right?
Oh no, I would say proficient.
That's you sat on the policy board.
Yeah.
You-
Oh wait. Nope. There's that.
supervisor units,
Nope. And proficient equity lens that identifies historically marginalized populations of the school district and aligns policies to address inequities.
That's not in proficient.
Yeah, it's a proficient. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're not meeting that. Again, and then you know, if you look at, yeah. So like my, it references equity lens. So that's the problem I have with this indicator here, that identifies historically marginalized populations at the school. And if you go to the process, right, which is the standard, the board of each SUSD, if applicable, of each member school district within the SU establishes and follow inclusive, transparent, and predictable methods to conduct its work. It doesn't really line up if you ask me. So approaching would be my thought. Any other comments on that? Okay. The board ensures its annual budget aligns with stated priorities and provides equitable distribution of resources to help meet the needs and goals of every student.
I already started laughing long before this. I was like, yeah, okay, let's see how this one turns out.
I thought I was gonna ask us how to explain the funding mechanism by state.
Which one are you looking at?
Last one on proficient.
Okay. Well, I think that might connection between the budget and stated priorities. I mean,
In previous ones, they said some board members. This one says board members, as in all board.
Yeah.
And therefore you're going to lose right off the bat.
Yeah. You can't-
Okay.
Can't be sure that all board members are able to articulate the connection between budget and stated priorities.
Okay. Well, and you know, if you think about like our discussion tonight too, so like if we're, you know, like we're stating our priorities and, you know, let's say throughout this budgeting process, we settle on, okay, we're going to make changes to transportation hypothetically, and you know, during our discussions, you know, we can articulate that, you know, this is our priority, and we made changes to the budget to reflect that. I would say that would apply, but every board member, you know, should at least be familiar with that if they were part of the conversation. You know what I mean? So I would say it could
So we're
apply,
okay, we're
but-
proficient.
but the feedback component to this is that maybe it shouldn't say board members. You know what I mean? You know, because, you know, again, like you can't always force people to understand, you know, especially like, you know, if someone wasn't at a critical meeting. I don't know. So I don't know what people think about that.
It's kind of a weird way to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. I don't know. You know,
I think it'd be proficient there. in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I would say we can do proficient. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Amanda, Matt, Mary, you guys still awake?
Yeah, we're here. I'm here.
We're here.
All right. The board ensures its members are aware of conditions set forth in negotiated agreements and contracts.
We're on a proficient here.
Yeah. All you have to do is, has everyone here reviewed conditions set forth in negotiated agreements and contracts, at least on an annual basis?
No.
Yes.
Approaching. Oh, you have? But not everyone has. So. And the, you know, the CBAs are all available to all board members too. So, okay. So everyone has access to it. Approaching. Anyone disagree with that?
Approaching is good with me.
The board ensures its members understand and comply with Vermont statutes and regulations relevant to board work and public education. Majority of members are familiar with, okay. Probably approaching. All board members receive annual training.
I would say approaching.
Yeah. Okay. And I think this one kind of ties in with the other one about having, you know, board development, you know, or was it?
I think we're proficient on this.
The board stays apprised of proposed legislation and policy making that may affect the school system and students. Mm-hmm.
Advanced.
At least one board member is responsible for tracking applicable legislation and keeping the board updated. But it doesn't say that one person has to be designated. And I would say over the last year, at least one of us has. I can say I have.
We've had so much fun doing it. We just love to have you there.
Yeah. Okay. So the board establishes a system. Oh, yeah. So it may be advanced.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think I would agree with that. Especially.
Pat him on the back, man. Pretty good.
Anyone else want to weigh in on that? Before we move on? Just checking. Okay.
I'm good. I'm good with that.
Okay. The board maintains an ongoing relationship with locally elected officials.
I think we're advanced there. Our panel doesn't have anything there.
The only issue with this is it would include select board members.
Okay.
Because remember, we have to meet the first condition or the second condition. But
Well,
Does it have to be with specifically this board? Because,
yeah, I mean, I have
I mean, do you
relationships
not
with
send
select
stuff
board
to your-
members.
Yeah.
what's that?
I have relationships with select board members.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, is it doesn't have to be one specific person. It could be, and that's what I was going to ask is, I've had conversations with, Wells Select Board. Matter of fact, in August, I came to a select board meeting to, engage about Act 73, just to talk about it. So, I mean, I would say, we don't have an established process for communication. So that might be something to work on. So maybe just approaching, right?
I agree.
All right. That's it. Wasn't so painful.
Yeah.
Chris gets to do this how many times a month? Did you say one more time?
Sorry, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, that's all we have for tonight. So, and again,
So this is
and I'll just describe some of the information that I found out too. The window for submission is October 15th to November 21st. Being familiar with the governance standards, I was like, well, we'll just put this on the agenda because we're going to talk about budget in November. I might as well just do this. So it's not even need to be submitted for a while. The AOE still hasn't released their forms to submit it yet. That'll come next week. So there's still a lot of stuff that an AOE component. But I would say we've done our part for this beta test, and there's going to be a feedback component as well, from the AOE, and then I think that they'll probably enlist the VSBA for the feedback on this from all the submissions, and then they'll have a polished version next year. Who knows when that'll be, but in a nutshell, I think that's what the governance standards will look like. And again, it does kind of, it should, put the whole board and all board members in perspective of where we're at on meeting these standards and what to expect moving forward. So, okay. So any final thoughts on DQS? All right. So, general public comment. Anyone have anything to say tonight before? Mary?
I know I don't really have to raise my hand, but we had a member of the community just had to hop off, and she just asked me to bring to the board some concerns about the Middletown Springs water system, and just wondering if that could be on the next agenda or something that we bring up in the property or facilities manager meeting. Just some concerns around that. So I wasn't exactly sure what to bring up, but I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the board, and then maybe either put that on the agenda or just put it on the radar for the next facilities meeting.
Yeah, there's something in here about the water system, and yeah. So I don't know.
It should go to Jessica first.
Yeah.
Jessica then could bring it before the board.
Exactly. So I would say, just follow the chain of command for issues like that as well. Because as we've seen in the reports and stuff, that there are issues, I think, with the uranium system. But yeah. So I specifically, I don't know, but yeah, I hope that makes sense. But
And to elaborate, the chain of command would be admin, superintendent, and then
yes,
the board.
Okay. Okay. So no public comment. Okay. Okay. So moving on, future meeting dates and agenda items. So, going back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the meeting. I had received an email yesterday late from the chair for Meadowee Community School, and submitted with a letter attached addressed to the Wellsprings Unified Union School District Board. And I was asked if we could put this on our agenda for tonight. However, if we were going to have a discussion around that letter, I would like to have, because it's not warned on the agenda, I think it would be best to have the full board here to weigh in. Unfortunately, George could not make it tonight. So the letter is in the drive, and I don't want to talk about it tonight, but what I would like to ask, if the board would consider a special meeting maybe next week, probably just virtually, just so we could address this, because it is related to redistricting, and as you know, things are moving fast with kind of fast. There's not much time. So
Erica might benefit just to kind of briefly just give the context of the letter. So if somebody's watching and they want to attend the special meetings, they have an idea what the letter is referencing, particularly around.
okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah, it's just specifically around redistricting, and the request would be that the Wellsprings would partner with Meadowee, so I mean that's basically it. So I'm not sure exactly what that would mean or look like. But that's what it is, without getting into like a whole conversation about it.
I do believe it was helping to maybe influence the alignment of the redistricts, because if, say, Wellsprings jumped into Rutland County,
We would lose.
they may lose school choice. But if Middletown and Wells went to the redistricting task force committee and said, we'd be open to redistricting, but if we went down with the BRSU or in that area, then we may be able to maintain school choice. I think that's what
Yes.
content the discussion is.
Yeah. So yeah. So exactly.
It's just more about
Thank you.
where
Yeah.
Middletown Wells would land, I think, in this redistricting. what would benefit these two communities.
Yes, and
That's the conversation.
yeah, and then there's a huge choice component to this as well. So yeah, exactly. But again, a lot of there's components to this. So that is basically what's at stake. Could this discussion move us, toward our goals and be best for our students, or would it not? So, Mary?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the feedback they're actually looking for. Am I correct?
I don't know, but again, I think we should have the full board, and I'm just asking if the board wants to have a special meeting to discuss this.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah, I would support that. Thanks, Eric.
So, okay. Does anyone object? How about that? Okay, sounds good. So, again, I'm proposing, we have a lot of meetings. Some of us do.
Yeah.
That I'm hoping that maybe we can do something virtually and Amanda?
I would just like to add if it had to be in person, I am not home until 6 o'clock. So 6 o'clock or after would be best if that works for everybody else.
I thought, just virtual would be convenient. I mean, for everyone.
Everyone but me, because I really don't like anyone.
Oh, yeah.
What day are you talking about trying to do this?
I mean, that's the tricky thing too, is what dates are available.
Tuesday or Thursday?
Can't be Tuesday.
Thursday.
That's it. Big events because that's definitely I want.
That's,
You're not what?
I'm not available all next week, but that's,
Okay.
but I don't need to be here. This counts.
Yeah, okay.
For Tuesdays, I can't do the 14th or 21st.
16th? What about the 16th?
That could work for me.
Yep, I could do the 16th as well, Eric.
What is the 16th?
Thursday? Does
Thursday.
that work for you?
I can do Thursday. It's not Thursday.
Yep. Matt?
I'm a big question mark. So you can pencil me in, but my wife is due on the 22nd with our third child. So potentially yes. Hopefully yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm not
So
sure for that. It's your
You
wife's
just
not
jinxed
here.
yourself back.
I know. I continue to do that. So yeah, I'm into it. I'm into discussing it. And
Okay.
I'm okay to if the board meets without me.
Okay. Well, and I think, the big component is it's going to be publicly warned and all that stuff. So,
Yep.
In case the community wants to be involved in it as well, as far as public comment goes.
Sure.
Okay, so 10/16, 6 p.m.
So Eric, just, sometimes folks come to me and they're like, hey, there's a special meeting. Am I able just to share the information that you provided tonight? Am I able to share the content of the letter?
Yeah.
What would you, they're just going to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, it's public. Yeah, it's, we, again, like, we haven't discussed this as a board, this letter
Right.
specifically. We're just, again, so I would just leave it at that. We haven't discussed it.
Okay.
And, it gives, at this point in time, I would say it gives everyone time to look it over. And so, but, I think this is one of the, one of those pieces to Act 73 and the redistricting that we shouldn't ignore. So, okay. 10/16, 6 p.m. Sounds good. So if there's no other further business, take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Sue. 7. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.